Hi, everybody, and thank you for joining us on Let's Talk God, Jesus, and Faith today. I am Crystal Ruiz. I'm your host, and I am here with our amazing Dr. Tom Slayton.
Hi, I'm Dr. Tom Slayton. I'm glad to know that I'm amazing. I didn't know that before, but I'll take her word for it.
And I'm always honest. I will tell you like it is.
Um,
So we have been doing this podcast. This is, I think, the 20th episode, maybe.
yeah.
And we have been doing this for a little while, and trying to get our legs under us. And we're going to do what I call some revamping.
Okay.
What I want to do is I want to start talking about what's relevant today, because society today is different than it was 50 years ago. I remember my mom taking us to church, and we had those little dresses on, and we had our little shoes, and I was a tomboy. The minute they started telling her that I had to wear dresses and couldn't wear pants, my mom was like, that's not the church for us. She could just imagine me up on a tree with my little dress flying everywhere. So things have changed
And you
over
had
the years.
those little sweet shoes that they
I
used to.
did, but I didn't really keep them on my feet. I was climbing trees and doing all kinds of stuff.
Oh
So,
my.
I was a little different little girl. My sisters, I think one of them was the little prim and proper one, and the other one just didn't care.
Mm.
You know, my brother was 7 years younger than us, so he was raised in a different time and a different era. And we did go to church when he was growing up, but he didn't always go with us. It was a little different. We went to I want to I forget what kind of church it was. It was very I want to say uh it was different. It was like our church on steroids. Not a lot of teaching, but more of the
Religious.
religious, and they did a lot of speaking in tongues. They did a lot of that type of thing.
That's religious.
It was, to me, it was all about the show. And I didn't like that. I didn't like, that everybody had to be the center of attention.
It's the religion.
And it's just not me.
Yeah.
Just not me.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell you, when my dad was Episcopalian,
Hmm.
when he grew up, he was an altar boy and an acolyte, he said, an acolyte. And so he was, like you, drugged to those churches, as a boy. And we used to go to Denver to the big Episcopalian church at Christmas time. He took us one year, and then we went every year after that. Because of the ceremony of everything, it was just so amazing to us. But could I do that every Sunday? Heck no.
No.
That is not me. I don't want somebody beat me down with religion, because to me, it's not about religion. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, and I know you will. But for me, my my beliefs are centered on a personal relationship with Jesus. That's where I hold my belief.
That's where your belief should be, and it's very good that it is, because most churches are centered around a religion and a formality and a way that you have to do things. It's kind of like, if you're going to go to City Hall, you have to go down Main Street. No, there's 500 streets that might lead to City Hall. Why do you
Mhm.
have to go down Main Street? Well, that's just the way we do it. You don't have to do it that way. God is not narrow minded as people are towards Him. And we have to learn how to relax and receive His love rather than His condemnation, as people consider.
Yeah, and I think God meets you where you are.
He meets you where you are, yes.
And I think that's important for people to know. But so I said we're going to take this in a different direction in a minute. Um, you know that I went back to DC. I was invited to go to the inauguration
Mhm.
with a special invitation. Unbeknownst to me, Thursday we were supposed to pick up our tickets. Now we drove because we're a family of six, and they were generous enough to give me tickets for the family.
Mm.
And we picked up a friend of ours. I drove 24 hours from here to Arkansas, and then he drove a little while. It's a 14-hour drive to Denver, or to DC. He drove a little bit. Well, the first thing he did was back into the ditch. I almost fell over laughing. I was so tired, and I think he thought I was going to be so mad, but he's a little cocky. you know? And so when he backed into the ditch, I knew, that straightened him right out. He didn't have any room for cockiness. And he just drove. Nothing happened to the vehicle. It was
Mm.
fine, but we had to get it towed out, and then we were off. And he drove about 5 hours, and then I drove some, and then he picked up as we got closer to DC in Virginia. And all of a sudden I was like, I've got to rest. And as soon as I fell asleep, all of a sudden I hear this noise. I feel this jerk. I sat up and I'm like, oh my gosh, somebody was spiraling out of control and hit the back end of the van. And thank God he was driving, because I probably would have wrecked it. Our van is top heavy.
Mm.
And he was trained well enough from the military that all his instincts kicked in, and he got us over safely without us hitting anybody else or wrecking the car. But the roads were completely full of black ice, and it was whiteout conditions, and this guy was going 60 miles an hour and just spun out of control and hit us. So that slowed us down even more. Everybody was fine, but it's a pain in the keister, but everyone was fine. And we get into DC, and my son and I jump out because we're late to get the tickets. We jump out, we run into the Starlight Ballroom to get the tickets, and they weren't getting that. I was supposed to pick them up Thursday, and I didn't get the message apparently. So we drove from the West Coast to the East Coast, and we weren't going to have tickets. So I was like, this is pretty bad. So then we go and get back in the car. They gave us this little card that was the actual invitation, that when you did get the tickets, this would have been your
Mm-hmm.
ticket, and you would have gotten this to take with you after. They would have given it to you to take after, but they just gave us the ticket because it wasn't, I couldn't use it, but I could keep it as a memento. So I got all the family their tickets. And we went to the hotel, which my idea was stay in Arlington. Arlington is right next to DC.
DC, yeah, Arlington,
So it's
Virginia.
cheaper to stay there. So I was like, okay, we found a nice inexpensive hotel, very, very nice hotel that we went to. And we thought we could walk over. Well, in nice weather, we could walk over. It's snowing like crazy there, right? You had to go over the Potomac, over the bridge to walk over. And I didn't know there was a subway that you could use. And because it was the inauguration, they cleared out all of the bad people out of the subway, cleaned up the subways, and it was actually safe for a couple days to take the subway. It wasn't a week later and somebody got attacked on their subway. A little old lady got attacked. I told my kids during the subway thing, that was their first time on a subway. They'd never been on one. They're like, this isn't bad. And I go, this is not normal. This is like this because the president's being inaugurated.
Yeah, yeah.
So you need to keep that in perspective. And then when the lady was attacked, and of course it was all over videos of the attack, 2 people attacked her, and then a third came and started punching her in the back when she started fighting back. It was horrible. Horrible.
Yeah.
Society, Tom, today has gone crazy.
Well, I don't know how it was when I grew up. We were on the subway all the time. And certainly there were incidents on the subway, but there were few and far between. Not like now. It seems like it's just a regular occurrence. But I suspect if it is a regular occurrence, it's because society has stopped prosecuting and locking people up.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, when I was a deputy sheriff back in the 70s, it was getting so we could arrest them. We would be writing the report on why we arrested them, and they're still out on their second arrest.
Oh, yeah. Now,
How could this happen?
did
You know?
you hear now, people? If you're just tuning in and
Mhm.
you've never watched us before, I'm an elected official, and I'm not your typical elected official. I don't fit in
No,
some square
you're
box
not.
here. I'm really, I actually believe I work for the people. Right? That's
Mhm.
my job, is to work for the people. There's somebody else who works for the people, and I don't know if you know or have heard about this. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot to tell you. I am sorry. We had to switch over to this mic, and so it might sound a little different than our normal podcast. We had, Andrew, what was the name of the mics that we normally use?
The DJI mic minis.
DGA mic minis. They're absolutely phenomenal mic to use when you're doing podcasting and that kind of thing. But ours had a little issue. So they had to go back to the manufacturer. We're going to get them fixed. We're going to get them back, and hopefully in time for the next episode. But that's the reason for this mic, just in case it sounds different or looks different to you. But as I was saying, um, I went to something recent. I'm an elected official, and I went to something recently that you might be interested in. And I know the folks of California are definitely going to be interested in. Did you know Sheriff Chad Bianco is running for governor?
Hmm.
He announced it the other day.
Right, I've heard that.
You should have gone. It was like a rock concert. Like, and I don't mean that there was music and everything, but the excitement. It's like DC. When I went to DC at the inauguration, Tom, it was crazy because on Friday, they had paid protesters come to protest against Trump's inauguration. They were
Sure,
going to stop the
sure.
inauguration. It was 0 degrees. Those paid protesters stayed Friday and not for very many hours because it was too darn cold for them. And they
Yep.
left.
Hmm.
So they had a few of them that lingered. So inauguration came and we go to well, first of all, we didn't have tickets. We were going to have to go in with the general population. We were going to have to walk over the Potomac Bridge, which is very windy and very cold. So it was 0 degrees, but it was really negative 4 degrees with my 4 children. Now, I knew if I was getting freezer burned or something, I would know the signs, right?
Hmm.
But I didn't know how my kids would react, especially since the youngest is 14. So I'm kind of, I was very, very nervous about doing that. So the idea was to take an Uber. Great idea. I had the app. We ordered the Uber. We go over to the first group because they couldn't fit us all in one car. First group went over. We finally found a place for them to drop us off. I called back, told them that Uber's on the way back, and my phone dies, which canceled the Uber. So then I'm sitting there going, what are we going to do? So we tried to walk. They let us off on
Punt.
12th Street, and you couldn't even get in until you got to 4th Street. So we walk all this way down. We get to where 4th Street is, and they shut down that thing. We couldn't get into the event. So now the other people are coming from the other side of, Arlington, and they've decided to walk. So now we didn't know where they were walking to because my phone was dead. So then I'm like, okay, my kids didn't have phones because we can't afford phones for everybody. So they can do it through the internet, but we didn't have internet access because my phone was dead. So I decided, okay, we've got to go. We were going to meet somebody at a place near there. So we started walking back and we get over to where he was. Only he had just left because the place was really super expensive. And he had to meet somebody else. So he went ahead and left. And we get there and couldn't figure out where things were. So we went to the restroom. There was no place to plug in, nothing. We thought maybe there was a place that we might be able to plug the phone in. We had to go anyway. We might as well try to charge the phone, right? But that didn't work. We didn't have a plug. I was like, where's that? So I was like, we have to go get a plug. We need to think logically here. So we saw Walgreens. We left there. We went over to the Walgreens. I said, we're going to get a plug. Let's see if we can get a fast charger. We couldn't afford a fast charger, so we got the wire and a plug. And we found a Starbucks. And we went to the Starbucks and we sat and we waited until we could charge the phone enough. And then we called my husband, who was with my second youngest daughter and his friend, and they had already started walking over, and they were they went across the Potomac, and they were in DC. And we said, okay, well, we're gonna have to work our way around to you because everything's blocked off. Let's pick a place close to you because we're gonna have to go back. So we picked a place where we would meet for food, and we walked and walked and walked. And well, in the meantime, we're walking where all these people are in the streets dancing and celebrating and cheering. Every time YMCA came on, everybody started doing the YMCA dance. The Trump dance, you had to go like this, and then you do the YMCA. And then the MAGA, they changed it to MAGA sometimes. And it was hysterical. And what was even more funny was the fact that the paid rioters were there trying to riot and trying to get the people to riot. You can't get joyous, happy people to riot.
No,
They just don't riot. It didn't work.
no.
So another thing that happened during that time, my children homeschool, and they're very, very bright, very, very intelligent, very, very advanced. So my teenage daughter, she just turned 18. She'll be graduating in the June here, and she turned 18, and she's standing there talking, and these young rioters came up behind her and saw her from behind, and her hair is now a little bit more red because she's playing with. I said, you got to have some natural color. She's got dark hair. She's put it more red. So they walk behind her and they walk up into in front of her and they go, "Oh, we saw your hair and we just thought, you've got to be a liberal, a Democrat." And then they so now we see the front of you. We know you're a Democrat. And she looks at them. She looks at me and she goes, no." And they're like, and they freaked out. They didn't know what to do. And they just wandered off. And I started laughing because my daughter didn't understand. They were flirting with her. She had no clue. She was like, "What was that, Mom?" I go, "They were flirting with you. They're young boys who saw a pretty girl and thought they could make a connection. And you just blew them out of the water because you're totally the opposite of what they
Wow.
thought you were going to be." Because people think, when they think conservative, they think,
Square.
well, not just square, but they're like, there's a cross right in the middle. You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do that, but you're holier than thou. That is not what being a Christian
No,
is.
it's not.
And it's
Not
not
at all.
what conservatives are.
No.
You know, conservatives are really common sense people. And
I think so.
I think most of them, and this is where you're going to have to weigh in heavily, because you and I both have had this conversation many, many times. The U.S. Constitution, the foundation of the government, the um, beginning documents of the formation of the government. Even my family came over on the Mayflower, signed the Mayflower Compact. That Mayflower Compact was built on Judeo-Christian principles. Am I correct?
Yes.
This country, if you look at the monument to the forefathers, and Kirk Cameron did a really good video, I don't know if you've ever seen it, on the monument to the forefathers.
No.
And this monument tells the story of the beginning of this country. And if we ever forget it, we have this monument out of granite that tells the story of the founding of this country, and the only way this country is going to survive is going back to God.
Well, what's interesting is this was something that was taught in public school.
When I was a kid, it was.
I don't know if it is now or not.
No, I don't think they even have to
Yeah.
remember. I don't think, remember we had to memorize the preamble?
Mm-hmm.
We had to know that front and back.
Yeah.
It's not just the Pledge of Allegiance.
Mm-hmm.
The preamble. We had to know that this Constitution was for and by the people.
Mm-hmm. We the people.
Yeah, we the people. That's the most important part. But if we the people don't do something,
Mm-hmm.
we end up with the chaos that we've had in the last few years.
Right.
And people didn't even know about it. They didn't understand the depths of this chaos, I think. People have been worried about Trump. Oh, he's going to do this, he's going to do that, and he's going to do this, and he's going to do that. And you know what? He's undone what they did. He's undoing everything. And that's what they were worried about. This was never about you or me.
Mm-mm.
This
No.
is about greed, corruption, perversion, the stuff that they have done. I'm just floored. I'll tell you. Everybody's worried about the immigration stuff, how Trump is going after illegal immigrants, and you have
Well,
families.
what part of illegal don't people understand nowadays?
I don't know.
I mean, when you put that in front of something, that should cancel everything and change attitudes right there.
Right, you should know right from wrong.
Right.
But didn't the Bible say that what was wrong would be right and what was right would
Yeah,
be wrong?
yeah, that's what they would change it to.
This
Yeah.
is what we're at. I don't think, and you've been here a long time. You're 80.
Mhm.
Is there ever been a time in your 80 years that you've seen where it's been so right and wrong switched?
I saw it pretty bad in the 60s, but it's not It's not the same. It's different. They were more focused on being liberal in the 60s than they are now.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
well, being liberal in the 60s was even different than
Well,
now.
it had to do with dress and all kinds of different
Right.
things,
When John Kennedy was president, he was a Democrat.
Mhm.
My parents voted for
I
him.
remember only one I liked.
And that's my dad and mom too. My mom and dad knew um where they were when Kennedy was
Was
assassinated.
assassinated. Yeah,
Um they they were just brokenhearted.
yeah.
He was a true treasure. But John F. Kennedy and Robert Kennedy would not be Democrats today.
No.
They would be
Well,
considered
their policies would be Republican.
right. They would be
Yeah,
considered Republican.
right.
And I think, and I think we're about to find out because they're going to release the Kennedy files. I believe that we're going to find out that that they were killed because they were going to speak out.
Well, they were killed partially because of the government.
Right. That's what I mean.
Yeah,
They were
yeah.
gonna speak
It
out.
was an inside job.
Well, and I think that
Mhm.
that we're gonna find out that it was an inside job trying to take out Trump too.
Mhm.
And that was a God moment when his head turned and cocked just a hair.
Well, having been a cop, I recognize the significance that it had to be God because a half inch this way he got hit here, a half inch this way he got hit here.
Mhm. Well, and it wasn't just okay, because it could have gone here and gone in, but it was a turn and slight cock.
Yeah,
And that slight tip,
yeah,
and it was almost as if somebody was going like this with his face and lifting
yeah,
him.
yeah.
And
It's beautiful.
it was stunning. And when you
We
saw
have
it
to
at the
believe it to
moment,
God, yeah, and it happened right then.
right in front of everyone,
Right.
here's a miracle
Hmm.
that happened before everyone.
Yeah, yeah.
And they keep trying to kill him. And why? Because of what Doge is exposing right now. And the one
Well,
thing that,
Doge hasn't exposed it yet.
no, huh? Well, they have it all.
Yeah, but they haven't exposed it yet.
Not
Because
yet.
some stuff,
It's coming.
how do you put this out? Oh my goodness, because they didn't even know it.
Well, think about this. Fort Knox. They haven't been in Fort Knox in years.
And they don't know if any gold is in there.
Well, right. Do you know that it's valued at $59 an ounce? What the hell? I want in on $59 an ounce. Give me that. I'll take it. But
Yeah, but
no.
if there's nothing in there, what difference does it make
Well,
what its
and if
value
it's in
is?
there, whose is it?
Yeah,
Because they made so many loans.
right.
In order for money to account for something, it has to be backed by something. You can't just have paper. Otherwise, I could take this tissue and now we have $1 million.
Well, that's true if I'll take it for $1 million.
Exactly.
But if not, you
Then-
just got a tissue.
Then I got a tissue.
Right.
Exactly.
Well,
And-
but here's the thing. In all honesty, now, if you take all of the gold on Earth,
Mhm.
rings, necklaces, earrings, whatever, and put it together, it would form a cube 13 feet square.
Oh,
Now, the problem is if you put gold at, I think when this was formulated, it was 259 an ounce. But now the ounces are not 16 ounces, it's 12 ounces to a troy a pound. Okay, so if you did that, there still would not be enough gold to run America alone, much less the rest of the world. That's why the gold is not of any significance nowadays
well,
because it's based on the promise to pay.
right. Well, that's all that it ever
All it
was.
is a promise to pay. You got my word on
The
it.
thing is, though, is that America has more gold in it than any country in the world.
Don't matter. It
And
has
so,
no real
but
value.
we don't, well, and we don't take it out of the ground.
Right.
It's still there.
Right.
It's like the
But take everybody else's. Why take your own?
lithium. Lithium is another one that the United States has more lithium than anywhere else. But-
What's worth the most in America? Most people don't know.
The people, to me.
Oil.
Oh, yes. Oil is number
The
one.
oil is in the ground. We have
More of that than anywhere.
495 years worth in the ground.
Right. And if we had the processing facilities, we would not be dependent on anyone. But that's why when Trump was in the first time, And he was allowing all this drilling and allowing all this stuff, that the oil prices dropped. Now you noticed in the last, about a week, they raised the prices in
Mm-hmm.
California by almost $1 a gallon.
Mm-hmm.
This is so ridiculous. They don't need the oil prices this high.
No,
They don't need the gas prices this high.
no.
What they're trying to do is keep us home, so we don't do what we're supposed to do. Remember in COVID, when they locked us down, the whole purpose was isolation.
Yeah.
Because when you want to,
It's to see how much you would how much they could control you and keep you in place.
exactly, and that's exactly it.
That's all it was.
You hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what it was. How much control did the government have on you? And I love this country more than anything. I mean, God first, family, my family second, country third.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I love this. I've been raised as, first and foremost an
But
American.
too, a lot of people don't realize if you go back to when the country really stood for something, it would be during World War II.
Oh yeah.
That generation of people, they had a different outlook than they have now.
Oh yes. Yeah.
But it's going back that way.
It is. I think things have changed, and
Yeah.
I think that it's God's grace that
Yeah.
is allowing the change.
Well, the grace is you can say anything you want, but you can't take it to where you got to have it.
Hmm.
You can say, well, yeah, I'm selling California to you, but the problem is you can't get it over to South America. It's going to be right here.
Yeah. Yeah. I see us changing in the way that the American people are gonna. Well, I want to call it a reawakening. I think way back when we knew a lot more about what was going on in the government. We were small government. Um,
Well, we were a small government, and most people in government believed in God.
yeah.
I'm not saying that they were born again, spirit filled, but they believed in God, which made them take that right and wrong that was placed in their heart from birth
Hmm.
and lean towards right
Hmm.
as opposed to wrong.
And so we have to get back to that.
Yeah.
And it's going to take a long haul. Now I was talking about the illegals. Um, the Trump team is going after the illegals, and I spoke at the White House on the sanctuary state laws in California when I was mayor of San Jacinto, and the people that they were trying to get out were not the moms and the pops, the grandparents, the ones who are working hard for a better life for their families.
Mm-mm.
It was the ones who were harboring MS-13 or who were part of MS-13.
Or who were the drug dealers.
Right, who were the drug dealers. Those were the ones they were after before. This new group of people that they're going after make MS-13 look like kindergartners. These people are evil, like pure evil. I was sent a video, and I don't know if you saw it. It just brought everything to me, and I can't understand how people don't understand what's going on here in this country.
Mhm.
They get so angry over the president going after the illegals, but they didn't see the video, and they should look it
No,
up.
no.
There's a video of a lady. She works at one of those places where they go and they do a pop-up inspection, right?
Mhm.
So they'll have a bunch of truckers, or they'll have an entry point where they want to just make sure that the vehicles coming in are actually bringing produce or bringing whatever they're supposed to be coming into the country. So she goes and she talks to the truck driver. The truck driver's acting kind of fishy. She tells him to open up the back. He wouldn't, so she goes back there. There's a gentleman on the one side. She had a body cam on, or there's a camera right behind her, I think, from the angle up, so you could see. So it's kind of heightened, and you can see the whole shot. And all of a sudden, she takes some bolt cutters. She cuts off the lock. She opens the thing up, and she about threw up right there. Her hand goes over her mouth. She backs up. She's like, oh my God. They open up the other side, and then everybody starts freaking out. And stepped. about 3 high, all the way back from one end of the truck to the other truck were these trash bags. And these trash bags were full of babies, children that they had trafficked over the road, and they were trying to hide the bodies. And you didn't see that on the normal news. You didn't see people
No,
telling the truth.
there's so much on the normal news you don't see.
And they lie about everything.
Yeah.
I'm like, you could tell them that the sun is out today
Hmm.
and it's sunny and beautiful,
Yeah.
and they'll say, "Oh no, it's the moon that's out. I'm telling you, it's darker over here." They're nuts. They're nuts. They
Yeah.
only tell
Yeah.
you things for a rating. That's it.
Right. Now you hit the word.
Hmm.
That's the word right there. When I was a deputy sheriff, I would wonder why the things that we did never made the news, and little insignificant stuff made the news. That got the rating. This didn't.
Right.
They
It's
didn't want the
crazy.
truth.
They didn't want the truth, and that's right.
Yeah.
And it's time for the truth to be lit up.
Right.
It's now another thing that gets me, Tom, and you and I've talked about this before. I know you got that look because you know that I'm going there. Why is it that the preachers are not preaching on the pulpit? Why is it that they're not telling the truth?
I don't think they know the truth.
I think they're so bent on ratings.
No,
Or-
they're
or-
parroting the things that they have been told, but they haven't been told the truth.
I mean, the reality is it's all right there. Okay, you know that I'm helping my husband, and at night right now, what I'm trying to do is reread the Bible again.
Mhm.
And this time I'm doing what you said because it was very brilliant. You know, you always educate. When you read the Bible and you take these Bible verses right out, it's great to know the Bible verses. But what's the context? Because it means something different when you put the Bible verse in the context.
And the application.
Right. And it's all different.
Yeah.
And so I started doing what you said and Googling the answer. Now I actually started going to Grok. Have you tried Grok?
Mm-mm.
Now they got a new version right now, and apparently over the next few weeks it's going to grow exponentially.
Exponentially.
And it takes all forms of media and all forms of information. So if it's on Wikipedia, if it's on, the encyclopedia, if it's on, the news channels, it's going to take all of the information and disseminate which it is, and then it gives you the link to where the information is from, and it tells you according to this, da 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 da. So when you put in a Bible verse, you put in the Bible verse, or you say, what does this mean? Matthew chapter 12 verses 1 through 24. What does this mean? It's going to tell you what it means. But it doesn't tell you just one version. It goes, okay, in this it goes here, and then this it goes here. But the overall arching
Mhm.
thing is that it's going to. Do I need to pause?
Take a quick break.
We're going to take a moment. You'll cut that out.
It's live.
Oh, you're live. We're live. Sorry. Give us just a second.
Quick break, sir.
Now
Aha.
you should be able to see us again. All right. So it'll take that information and do what you said and give you not just the little piece of the story, but tell you the overarching.
Yeah. The application of it.
Right. And it was very interesting because I've never seen it done that way until you said it. And mind you, our phones are always listening, but perhaps it was listening while we were having a conversation, and that's why it shows it to me that way. But I really suggest you do that. You read through the chapter, and I underline, or I got these markers that don't go through
Mhm.
the
The page, yeah.
page because they're so thin,
Right.
and underline, and then go back and if you don't understand something, because some of this stuff is so complicated, or so not really complicated, it's so I don't know what the word is for it, but it's really simple that we just don't get it. And then you look at the application of it, or you look at the overall meaning of it. It means something totally different than you thought. And so you were using your phone, right?
Mhm.
And that's how I knew to do that. So I thank you for that, because it really changed the way I'm looking at learning the Bible,
Mhm.
you know? And it's really funny because I'm really lousy at Bible verses. I'm horrible. I can't remember where they are. I can't remember any. I just never have been good at that. I can do other things, but
Well, you
that's not
really
my
don't have
forte.
to with the phone because the phone will let you look up any subject according to the Bible just by saying according to the Bible and give a subject. It'll,
And it does.
yeah, yeah,
That's what's amazing to me.
right.
I mean, look at your
And it
age.
gives you the applications of it.
But look at your age. Your age group is not phone friendly. Your age group does not do computer friendly. But you've got this. And that's what's so important because what you're able to do is connect Jesus Christ with the people who are born using this.
Right.
These kids are different. These kids have different questions. They have different understandings. They have to fight.
Well,
And this is
I have analyzed what you said. They have different questions. They don't have different questions. They got the same questions worded differently.
yeah,
And most people have not come through the first volley of that question. So how are they going to handle the fifth volley of that question?
right.
Because they don't know.
Well, and I think too, you and I when we went to school, we were taught like remember I don't we didn't get it, but probably the my parents got it. They were taught to read from the Bible. A was for Abraham. You know, you remember that
Yeah.
whole, and that's what the generations before us were taught.
Right.
So they took that out. They took the Bible out of school. That's one thing that Trump is doing is putting the Bible back in. This is baloney.
Well, let me take you back even further. This whole thing started when the forefathers said, we're going to base our country on freedom to worship God.
Yep.
God meant Jehovah
Mm-hmm.
to our forefathers. But freedom to worship God, look at all of the gods they brought in over the years. So now it's based on you can't have religion.
Well, and that's all full of bull. That's full of bull. The reality is, God. There's only one God. There's only one.
I agree, but the society don't know it. They think there's a bunch of them.
But isn't that what the Bible said would happen?
Mhm.
Isn't that what happened in like Sodom and Gomorrah, and in even in with who was it, Noah? No, it wasn't Noah. It was part of the sea.
Jonah?
John, was it who part of the sea?
I'm not sure. You got to give me more information. But generally, when you think of sea, you think of Jonah. Jonah's caught in the mouth of the.
That's the whale. Abraham, right? Who wandered the desert.
Okay.
Okay. So
How did we go from the sea to the desert? But whatever.
whatever.
It's all good.
Well, remember they crossed that. They
Okay.
crossed the sea, and then the other people got flooded. Right? They were fleeing.
Okay.
As what? But now I've lost my train of thought, and it was a good point too.
Mhm.
Anybody know where I was at, AJ? Andrew,
It's all good.
you weren't listening, were you? Shame on you.
I don't know. Wait.
Shame on you.
Huh?
The reality is, though, back then, the Bible, they had the Bible, right? They actually had not the Bible, they had the Torah back then, because Jesus wasn't here.
Right.
And then along came all these prophets saying all this stuff, thousands of years before Jesus was born. That you had the David, and he was going to come from the line of David. How did they know that? How did they know
It's
that he was
prophetic.
going to come from Bethlehem?
God told him. Well, see, the whole thing, you had all of this down here, and it all points to Jesus.
Right. But how? Because it could have pointed to anyone.
No, God knows.
God knows.
Yeah.
And so the Bible then foretold what was going to happen in the future.
Exactly.
So here we have the Bible telling us, okay, Jesus is coming. He is going to be born of virgin. He's going to be raised. He's going to come out of Egypt. He's going to come out of Nazareth. They're going to call him a Nazarene.
Something I want to bring up and put an emphasis on. everybody knows that Jesus was born of a virgin.
Mm-hmm.
However, they miss who the Father is.
Mm-hmm.
See, God is Jesus's Father,
Oh yeah.
you know, and the Holy Spirit moved upon the Virgin or impregnated Mary
Mm-hmm.
supernaturally.
Yeah.
That's what people, they miss that.
And you know what's interesting? Okay, so science it fights God all the time, right?
And lose
Scientists,
all the time.
they do like big time lose. So they want to prove that God is not real.
Yeah.
They have tried over and over and over again. There is this movie, and I forget the name of it, where this reporter was an atheist, and he was dead set against proving that God did
Didn't
not
exist.
exist,
Yeah.
and that all of this was false. And he went and did in-depth reporting. Like he went in and found all kinds of things, and the conclusion he came out to was not only is God real and does God exist, but Jesus Christ was real. Jesus Christ exists and still exists.
We already had this argument in college and they lost.
They lose a lot. They lose a lot, and they don't know
Yeah.
how. They don't realize that they've
They don't
lost.
lose graciously
No,
either.
no, they just keep fighting. So these
Well, that's
science,
what you say.
that's that's what I say. Well, and the truth is, it's the truth. So not long ago, there was a guy who investigative reporter who went in, and it might have been that guy, who was looking for the spot where Jesus was killed, and the spot where the giant banner was ripped in half when he was hung on the cross. Right, the drops of Jesus' blood came down, and it supposedly went down into the ground onto the chalice, right?
Mm.
And that's what he was looking for. Where was that location? Now, there have been all kinds of reportings. You know that. Everybody says they have it.
Mm.
Nobody had it. He said he tracked it down. It was in a hidden spot that no one would even notice. He didn't want to name where it was. He got in there, and it was everything the Bible says, everything that his hopes were.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, this is crazy, because he was so not a Christian until he was a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
So then he's still trying to prove God does not exist, that this is a bunch of bull. And there on the surface was some blood. And he's like, okay, I'm going to scrape this blood, put it in a little petri dish here, and take it off with me. So he did. He sealed everything back up, left it exactly the way it was. He said that there were angels guarding it, very, very large angels. And when he walked in, they said, go ahead. Now, anybody else that had come in there, and you could see that over the passage of time, there were dead bodies, like there were bones. Nobody made it out.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes over there, he does his thing, he gets out of there. Doesn't tell anybody where it is. He takes that petri dish to some friends of his who are scientists. He hands it to them and asks them to analyze it. So they did. Do you know what they found?
Mm-mm.
There were male chromosomes. Well, he was looking for male and female chromosomes because that's what we all have in us.
Mm-hmm.
We have a mother and a father, right? So we have their DNA in us.
Mm-hmm.
So they were looking at this, and they were freaking out. They started freaking out. He didn't say a word. They come back to the report and they go, we cannot explain this. He said, explain what? What do you, because he just asked him to analyze it. Explain what? What are you talking about? This is a human blood, but this is blood of, it has a female, it's a male, blood from a man, but it's, you can see the female chromosome from the mom, but there's nothing from the dad. And the guy, I mean, they were going around and around trying to explain it to him and trying to explain it to him. They were like, this is not doesn't make any sense to us. This doesn't make any sense. Finally, he told them what it was and where he got it. And they flipped out, absolutely flipped out, because at that moment they
They
became
knew.
they became Christians,
Yeah, they knew.
and they
Sure.
were like, it's all true.
Mhm.
It's all true. But it's amazing because in the Bible it says those who don't see but believe, those are blessed, right?
You got it. I was just about to tell you that.
These young scientists who were bound and determined, that didn't understand it, and that reporter suddenly became Christians, young Christian men who were then out to let the world know, without letting them know where they got this, because that was the big thing. The guy ended up, I think, dying of cancer. He put everything back. He put the petri dish back. It's the only thing he took out of there. He put the petri dish exactly where he took it from,
Wow.
and then sealed the thing back up and left it. He said he would never tell anyone where it was, because that was they're not ready for it yet. But he had the evidence that Jesus Christ was actually real. He had his mom's DNA, and there's nothing showing from his father.
Well, it's interesting. As we move more towards the return of Christ, more people are going to have the opportunity to see that God is real than ever before in history. But even with all of the proof that will come forward, there's still those that are going to reject God.
Isn't that sad?
It's said, on percentage wise, we always think about, well, most people are going to go to hell. No, most people are not going to go to hell. Most people are going to go to heaven, but there's going to be a group that's going to go to hell.
Yeah, and all we can do, is pray for them. I think the evil out there right now is really stirred up. Not long before the inauguration, there was 2 people set on fire in subways in New York. Right after the New York mayor said, "Oh, we are the safest subways in the entire world." And the one was so horrific. The lady sat on she didn't try and put it out because she couldn't. And you watched her die.
Yeah, well, that
It's horrific.
doesn't carry the same meaning to me because I grew up in New York. People were killed in the subway all the time by every manner you can believe.
It's
From
horrible.
stabbings to burnings to poisonings to beatings to
Thrown on the
kickings.
train tracks. Yeah.
Hey, somebody got thrown on the train tracks every day.
That's
know.
horrible.
And I mean, many, many, many were killed. Babies thrown on the train tracks, all kinds of stuff. But it's never reported. It was that prolific going on that they didn't report it no
Well,
more.
and think about this. I mean, we've often mentioned October 7th in Israel. Did you hear that they found the children, the Bebas children?
Mm-mm.
The children were now 9 months and 4 years old. They had butchered them. They released their bodies, acting like Hamas was so. They're such saints.
Yeah.
But when they got the bodies, they saw.
Mhm.
And they supposedly released the mother's body, only it wasn't the mother's body. And they released the body of another man. The problem is they don't have anybody alive left.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Israel already knew that the Bebas family was likely dead. I'm sure they got a list.
Sure.
Unfortunately for Hamas, they didn't do what they said they were going to do. And as Trump said, he's coming after him. And Israel can go after them.
Mhm.
And we have a lot that we're going to cover over the year. We're going to really hit on some topics that are up to date and happening in the moment. And some people aren't going to like it. Some people are.
Well,
It's we need to
like that
awaken
song say,
people.
that's life.
Well, we need to awaken people. People,
Yeah.
Christians need to be awake. They need to be alert.
Well, Christians need to live now and not back in the time of Christ, knowing that Christ is still here,
Yeah.
but he's in us.
He's acting in us
Yes.
every day.
But we have some things we have to learn how to perform in the natural
Mhm.
and stop all of the foolishness that has come forth. Such as I think one that agitates me is, as a Christian, you're not supposed to fight.
Oh, yeah.
Now they always talk about physically. That's not what that was talking about.
Mm.
But people don't know that. It's you're supposed to stand up against evil.
Well, and that's it.
That's a fight.
But it is very difficult. Okay, so you remember that I was harassed, I was bullied, I was tormented, and this has been going on for months, by a certain individual. That certain individual has continued and now is doing things publicly. Somebody, a young woman, stood up and said, "No more." I've called that person out on all the harassment and bullying.
Good.
And uh, that's what we need to do. Now, being a woman, unfortunately, if a guy stands up for himself, he's Joe Cool, right? He's the bee's knees or whatever you want to call it. When a woman stands up for themselves, they call us all kinds of things. It's horrible names that they throw on us. The reality is, doesn't matter if you're man or woman, you can be bullied and harassed, you can be tormented, but you at some point have to speak up, and you have to.
I can help you with what you want to say. Is society needs to tell the truth. That's it. Only one truth. Tell it.
Yeah. Well, and you have to have the faith that God's going to use that truth for good.
Oh, he will.
Because we get afraid.
And he'll bring it to the surface too.
Yeah. And I think we get afraid and we don't want to cause things to get worse. In my case, I didn't want to provoke this person to do worse things. Now, I'm not alone. I'm not standing alone. There's a lot of victims, and it can be something from something so mild as somebody doing verbal abuse on you all the time,
Yeah.
or to somebody doing physical abuse on you. You don't have to stay silent, and you should never
don't have to stay silent.
You should
anymore.
never stay silent.
No.
You should know that God's got your back, and you know what? We go through crud. We go through some bad times. I mean, the thing that my kids learned. Okay, so I'm going to jump back to the inauguration. So we go and we missed everything. We ended up watching the inauguration from the hotel room. What I forgot to tell you was, and you notice my wedding band's not on me. I have a 3-piece set, right? I have 2 bands and then one with the diamond, and the diamonds on the other bands we got years later. It was just something that we paired with it, and
Right,
it looked good. Well, one of the bands lost a diamond a while back, and I was just heartbroken, horrified. We can't replace the diamond. It's expensive. So I'm in DC, and I'm wearing the other band only because I'm afraid the diamond for the engagement ring, that's like really expensive. I don't want to lose that. So I left that home and left the one that lost the diamond home, and I had the other band on, and somehow one of the diamonds fell out of that band too.
Wow.
So here I am. We've had all this bad luck. I mean, it was horrific. But we got to the kids, it was their first time on a subway. It was their first time in DC. They got to see the Lincoln Memorial, and they kept calling the Washington Monument the finger. And and they got a tour of the Capitol. And we've got a little card. We can go back anytime and see go into where they are speaking and whatnot. So we can go and see that. And it was just something that was, we had no money. We got about 3/4 of the way over there, and we realized that we had to pay the water bill. We weren't going to have water when we came back. So we paid the water bill, and then that shorted us on the money for the gas for the trip. So we called our friend and we're like, hey, I think we're going to have to just forget this and just be out the hotel money, because we won't be able to get back if we pay for the rest of the gas. So he paid for the rest of the gas to get to DC, from Arkansas to DC and back to Arkansas. And then we paid for it on the way home. But we didn't have food money. We had nothing. So we were making our sandwiches, whatever we could bring, we brought. We ate a lot of snacks. It was a snacky time.
You
But-
don't travel a lot, do you?
We travel a lot and we bring our own food.
Don't bring your food. Just when you go from city to city, go into the city and go to the store, go to the supermarket and buy your food and make it in the car.
Well, that's what we do.
Yeah, that's the way to go.
Yeah, that's what we do. Oh, and
A lot of people don't understand. Oh,
And we
we
go
just stop and we get the.
oh, no, we go to Costco too. So we went to Costco's all the way along.
Yeah, there
because
you
they
go.
have free samples.
There you go.
So we were
Yeah,
like,
sure.
and they have the $10 pizzas,
Mhm.
and they had the hot dogs. So we were like,
Oh,
okay,
pizzas are lovely.
the hot dog was $1.50 with a soda. So we would go, okay, look, we could go and everybody could get a hot dog and a soda, or let's get a pizza. We can have it on the road, you know. So that's how we made it across country and back. But it really, you know, you get to DC area and it was very expensive. Our friend Daniel, he, you know, I told him I paid him back for all of it, every penny, because I don't like the fact that we didn't, you know, I just didn't realize that we hadn't caught up on the water bill. But we live like everybody else, you know. I'm not one of those DC people who's lining their pockets with millions of dollars. That's
People-
just not me.
People are people, and most average people deal with average people, and that's what we are.
That's what we are.
We just deal with folks.
We are. And so my point was that the kids, and my kids are very resilient, but we took that whole thing and it was a great time. Even though it was a bad time, it was a great time. We knew that God was with us no matter how it turned out.
Sure.
We were going to have a good time. People were dancing in the streets. Come on, you can't get better than dancing in the streets. And the kids were just like stunned. They were just so amazed. Although they do want to go back during the summer or spring when it's a little bit warmer and they can actually feel their feet when they walk. That was important. You know, it was very, very, very cold.
Did I tell you the mistake I made with my cousin?
What?
We were talking, and he's on the East Coast, and I said, "Well, D, what's the temperature there?" He said 6. I said, 6 what? He said 6 below. I go,
Oh my gosh, yes. I remember growing
below
up.
what?
Yeah, I remember growing up in south of Chicago, and the winds come off that lake, and oh my gosh,
The winds
it
off
goes-
of Lake Superior.
Oh yeah,
my
goes
Lord.
right through your bones,
Yeah.
like so quickly. And but I remember one time we had snow, and back there, when you have snow out here in California, just a little snow will stop everything, right? You go back there,
12 feet.
oh yeah, they plow it up, and it goes
Yeah,
to the side
yeah.
of the road, and you have these giant mountains of snow.
The one that got me, I saw this. I was sitting right in my room in there. Somebody in Chicago took a glass of water and threw it up in the air, and it froze and came down as snow.
Oh, I would believe it.
Just a glass of water. I'm going,
Yeah, it
I'm
is.
going to keep
Flipping-
my hide right here in
flipping
California.
cold. But to that extent, here's there's piles of snow up here, and us kids are like, oh, let's build a tunnel. And so what do? We tunneled through, not thinking that it could cave in on
Cave
us.
in on you, yeah, yeah.
We tunneled all the way through the top. We're coming out the
We
top.
didn't have no sense.
We had no common sense, but we made the best of it.
Yeah.
You know, we would get our either trash bags, or you would get a trash can lid, or if you were lucky, you had a toboggan, and you would go down those hills and just slide all the way down. But we were making the best of it.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. That's what we did when we went to DC. We made the best of it. And that's what I'm going to ask people to do until our next episode. I want you to make the best of it. I want them
That's right.
to
Make the best of it.
to realize that God's got this. We've got to learn to let it go.
To
Let
relax and let go.
go and let God, right?
That's right.
Let go and let God, and He'll take care of it.
That's a good close.
Yep. We will see you next time. God bless you all.
Bless you all.